How's it going, guys? It's K Cars, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the all-new 2023 Corvette C8 Z06. I'm going to be going over the facts about the car as well as giving you guys some of my opinions about it. So hope you guys enjoy, and let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so as you guys probably all know, the C8 generation of the Corvettes came out in 2020 with the Stingray. So that car was extremely popular. I think it had very good performance for the price point, for 60 in around 3 seconds, which was insane for that type of car and that type of price point. Now, of course, in the year 2023, we have the C8 Z06 coming out, which is the next trim level that they are releasing after the Stingray. So starting out here with some numbers for the C8 Z06, it'll have a 5.5 liter naturally aspirated V8 LT6, which makes 670 horsepower, and that actually makes it the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 ever produced in a vehicle. It also does have 460 pound-feet of torque, which unfortunately is not really an improvement over the C8 Stingray. Looking back at the C8 Stingray, that car made around 500 horsepower and it did 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds. Now if we compare that to the C8 Z06, it has around 170 horsepower more, right around 670, and it does 0 to 60 in right around 2.5 seconds, which, you know, for a Corvette, a rear-wheel drive Corvette like that, to do 0 to 60 in, you know, even under 3 seconds is insanely quick in my opinion. And 2.5 seconds, that's literally like supercar territory. Even 3 seconds, in my opinion, is insanely quick. So for a car to be going 2.5 seconds 0 to 60, especially for a Corvette in this price point, I do think it's very impressive that they were able to do that, especially considering it is a naturally aspirated V8. So type of forced induction or anything, and they were able to pull out 670 horsepower out of that 5.5 liter V8, which I think is incredible. Now, I haven't actually seen anything confirmed from Chevy about the price of the Z06, but the number that I have seen floating around on the internet is right around $87,000 for a base starting price for the C8 Z06. So, you know, going back to the performance of that car, I think it's insane for that price point. Now, something else about the C8 Z06 is that it will have a top speed of around 186 miles an hour. Now, of course, that's not like terribly impressive, but, you know, how often are you going to have to go over 186 miles an hour? Probably not really that much, but, you know, there are cars these days that do have a top speed of well over 200. So I do think that is one area that could have been a little bit better, but, you know, then again, looking at the acceleration, 2.5 seconds to 60, I really don't think a top speed over 186 would really be necessary. It's just one of those things that, you know, vehicle manufacturers use as kind of like a flex point, in my opinion. Something else that's pretty cool about the C8 Z06 is that all the engines are actually hand built. And now something else that's pretty unique about the LT6 engine, that it's actually a flat plane crank, and it revs all the way up to 8,600 RPMs, which is how they were able to pull out 670 horsepower out of that naturally aspirated V8, which I think is, you know, once again, very impressive. Now, moving on to the transmission, as you guys know, the C8 Stingray did have a dual clutch transmission, which of course is a huge improvement over a normal single clutch. Now with the Z06, it'll also have an 8-speed dual clutch transmission, but it will also have a shorter 556 final drive ratio compared to the Stingray, which of course also helps to increase the acceleration. Now, something else that was similar to the Stingray and Z06 is that the Z06 will also be offered in a coupe and a convertible trim level. Now, of course, as I mentioned before, the Z06 is a huge upgrade compared to the Stingray, and many of those upgrades are designed to improve track performance. Now, the suspension of the Z06 is upgraded. It'll be a magnetic ride control suspension system. It also does have upgraded brakes, even the standard Z06. The standard Z06, no options or no other like trim levels needed for this. It will come with 6-piston front brakes compared to 4 pistons in the Stingray. Now, some other upgrades with the Z06 are that you get 20x10 front wheels, and those come standard with 275 wide tires, which is a 30mm increase when you compare to the Stingray. Now in the rear, they're going to be 21x13 wheels with 345 wide tires, which is a 40mm increase from the Stingray. And the standard tires on the Z06 are going to be the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. So, you know, just considering the rear tires are going to be 345s, now, even like myself with the Challenger, I thought upgrading to 275s was huge for me. I noticed a huge increase in traction, but, you know, 345s, that's like Lamborghini Bugatti size tires, I think. Bugatti tires are like 355, 365 maybe. So just getting 345 tire stock on a Corvette, I think it's a huge improvement, and of course, you know, those wide tires are needed in order to achieve that 0 to 60 in around 2.5 seconds. So I think it's awesome that they actually come stock with, you know, such high performance tires and a huge increase over the Stingray tires. Something else with the Z06 is that it does have a redesigned front end to improve cooling. Now you might be thinking to yourself, how does the front end improve cooling if it's a mid-engine, not a front engine? So it actually does that by having larger openings in the front to optimize cooling by channeling air to the center heat exchanger. Now it also does have 5 heat exchangers, but it does have that one central one in the front, and so that's how the larger openings up front actually help to cool the vehicle. But one thing that I really liked about the C7 generation of the Z06 is the addition of the Z07 package. So now with that package, you were able to get more aerodynamic components, and I actually got to drive a C7 Z06 with the Z07 package a few years ago, and that car was absolutely insane. Then it had the 6.2 liter LT4 supercharged engine, which had 650 horsepower. It's honestly the fastest car that I've ever driven, and I've driven, like, you know, a GTR and an Aventador, and even the C7 Z06 felt faster to me. Now going back to the whole Z07 package, you can also get that on the C8 Z06. Now what that includes is a larger front splitter. So all the Z06 models actually do have a splitter, but the Z07 package comes with a larger splitter. You also do get the addition of canards on the front, which are intended to improve the downforce. You also have a larger rear wing. The regular Z06 also does come with a wing, but once again, it is smaller than with the Z07 package. So all the aerodynamic components that I just mentioned, the splitter, canards, and the larger rear wing, those are also an option for if you get the optional aero package. You don't actually have to get the Z06 package to get those aerodynamic components. If you don't want the entire Z06 package, you can just get the optional aerodynamic package. So with all those aero components, it does give the car 734 pounds of downforce, which of course also does help a lot with track driving. Something else that you get with the Z07 package that is not included in the aerodynamic package, you can get carbon fiber wheels, which save around 41 pounds. And the Z07 package also does upgrade to the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R tires. Then you also do have different chassis tuning, which is specific for track driving, and you also do have Brembo carbon ceramic brakes. So, you know, in my opinion, depending on how much the Z07 package will cost, I think all that stuff will be well worth it. And if you would just be getting it for the looks of the car, the Z07 package is great for the looks as well as the track driving experience. Z06 is around 3.6 inches wider than the standard Stingray in the rear, and that's in order to increase the size of the side cooling vents that are needed to cool down the mid-engine. So of course you guys have probably seen those, you know, the side vents that are on the C8. The Stingray had those as well, but of course with the C8 Z06, they are expanded to, you know, cool the engine down more efficiently and more effectively. Another reason that they made the Z06 3.6 inches wider than the Stingray is to also fit those wider tires. So of course, like I mentioned, 345 tires in the rear, so they had to extend the fenders a little bit in order to actually fit those tires in the body. And of course in the rear you do also get 4 exhaust tips. I absolutely love how the C8 Z06 sounds. It really does have that unique sound of that flat plane crank V8. So if you guys haven't heard how the C8 Z06 sounds, let me just show you guys a quick sound clip here. It sounds amazing. So you guys probably heard those downshifts there, but that really just shows you how good that dual clutch transmission is and how quick those shifts actually are. So I think it's a huge improvement with that. With the Z06, you do have a lot of customization options. Like I mentioned, you do have 20-inch wheels in the front and 21s in the back. Those are actually the largest wheels that have ever been on a production Corvette. Now with the wheels, you do have several different design options, and you also of course do have the carbon fiber wheel option with the Z07 package, and of course that also saves right around 40 pounds with those wheels. Some other customizable options that you do have with the Z06, you have 2 different levels of carbon fiber interior package, or you can also choose an aluminum trim option. You also have 7 different interior colors, 3 different seat options, 6 different seatbelt colors, and of course you also do have that removable roof that can also be stored in the rear trunk. Or you can also get the convertible option if you prefer that. Now moving on to the outside, you have 12 exterior color options, 7 available wheel designs, and 6 different brake caliper colors. Now production of the C8 Z06 is supposed to begin in the summer of 2022, and it's supposed to be sold as a 2023 model. Moving on to some of my opinions on the C8 Z06, you guys probably recently saw that the VIN number 1 of the C8 Z06 recently sold for $3.6 million. Now, if that doesn't kind of like show you what the future holds for this car, then, you know, I don't really know what else will. I think these cars are going to be insane investments. As you guys probably saw, the C8 Stingray, you know, has been going for crazy amounts over the MSRP, which, you know, it seems like that's the case with any new car these days. We can also look at the Bronco. That's also a good example of a vehicle that's a good investment. So it just goes to show you that if you really look at enthusiast-based vehicles, I think they would make very good investments. Now the C8 Z06 specifically, you know, at a starting price of around $87,000, it's really hard to predict, you know, what the actual resale value will be of those vehicles. I believe the C8 Stingrays have been going for, you know, well over $100,000. The base MSRP of around $60,000. I feel like I've seen the C8 Stingrays go for, you know, as high as maybe $120,000. So of course right there, that's a, you know, double the MSRP price, which is absolutely insane. But if people are willing to pay that amount, then it's going to work. Like, it's going to keep happening. So, you know, with the Z06, if it's starting at around $87,000, if it doubles, then we're looking at like $160,000 for a C8 Z06 for the resale price, if those kind of markups actually do happen. Now, the performance of the C8 Z06, I think it's awesome. Like I said, I did get to drive a C7 Z06, which I will include some of those videos here. So as I was saying, the C7 Z06 was absolutely insane. I thought it had very good performance, and I can't even imagine what the C8 Z06 is going to feel like. I can't even imagine going 0 to 60 in, you know, around 2.5 seconds with a car like that. But of course, I do think it is definitely possible with those 345 tires, same traction with launch control. Actually not sure how much it weighs. I don't know if Chevy has actually revealed that number yet, but I can't imagine it's, you know, anything crazy. It has to be pretty light if it can go 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, which is an insane number in my opinion. So if I had to think of one negative part of the C8 Z06, or just the C8 Corvettes in general, is that you can't actually get them tuned. So from what I've heard is that the only way to actually tune them is to get a whole new ECU for the car and do it that way, which I've also heard is extremely complicated, and, you know, not many people have actually been able to do it successfully. I've also seen a few people that have been able to, I guess, like trick the stock ECU into letting them sort of tune it maybe. I'm not exactly sure how that process works, but, you know, the main point is that it has been very difficult to actually tune these C8 Corvettes. So that is one downside of the C8 Corvettes, especially the Z06, because, you know, I'm sure a lot of people would love to throw on a supercharger or twin turbos like they did with a Stingray, and you really don't have much tuning capability after those parts are installed. So that's one negative about the C8 generation of the Corvettes, is that they just are very difficult to tune from what I've heard. Me personally, I would love to get a C8 Z06. One factor that I think would hold me back from actually getting one is the price point. I think $87,000 is a great price for that amount of performance that you get with the Z06, but it's just a little bit out of my reach right now. Something else is just the inability to tune those cars. You guys know I like having my vehicles modified. With this Challenger that I have right now, it has long tube headers, callus mid pipes, and a custom dyno tune. So of course with the Z06, I would not be able to get an actual like dyno tune to make the mods actually, you know, enhance the car. Of course, like I said, there have been people who have found ways to work around that problem, whether it's tricking the stock ECU or just getting a completely new ECU for the entire car. So there definitely are options and ways to go around the issue, but I still think it is a pretty big issue, and you know, I think many people are held back from getting a C8 Corvette just because of that one issue. But overall, I do think that it's a great car. It sounds very good. You know, it has very good performance numbers, and you know, especially for that price, $87,000, a car that has that kind of performance, you know, 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. I haven't seen any kind of quarter mile numbers, but with a 0 to 60 of 2.5 seconds, I would assume that it's somewhere in the 9 seconds maybe. I think that's pretty reasonable to assume from a 0 to 60 of 2.5 seconds. Excited to see people start to get these C8 Z06s and, you know, do some testing with them, seeing how hard it is to actually get them tuned or get a new ECU for it, or, you know, kind of work around that issue. But yeah, once again, I do think it's a great vehicle. I think it's going to have very good performance, and yeah, hopefully we can, you know, figure out how to actually get these cars properly tuned in the future. So guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you have anything to add or if you have any questions, make sure to drop those down in the comment section below. If you guys have any video suggestions for videos you would like to see in the future, also drop those down in the comment section below. And if you guys like this video or found it entertaining, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.